Alright guys, so at the end of the last session we had our tabs working. What we're going to do now is tidy up some of the formatting here. So we need to add probably another 10 pixels here, maybe it's 8 pixels, but we're going to just experiment with that. And that's across all of them. And with these headings as well, these are set for 20 pixels high, but this font needs slightly more pixels for the top and the bottom, so the characters, the letters that go long are being cut off here. You can see the journal as well. So we'll just tidy up those two things first. Okay, so what we're going to do is start with our NPC frame here, and we're going to grab all of these, some people, content frame, subjournal. We're going to take all of these, we're going to unlock them, and we're going to move them down, I think for a total of 8 pixels. So I was looking for, I think, no, we'll drop them down one more, so they're all 45 pixels. Okay, and we'll just make sure they're all aligned at 45, align them all left as well, they're good, and we'll lock that. And we probably have to shorten them all up by 5 pixels as well, so the height 493, we'll make them all, we'll go 485. And looks like they've all gone, so that's good. And the next thing we wanted to do was journal. We want to set this to maybe 24 pixels high. People, we'll set to 24 pixels high. And text class isn't quite behaving as I thought it would. This text is not displaying. This field is somewhat different, so we might have to rework this text class. Text class is our window class here, and it's got a text field, a formatted text field. It's got a label, and it should be in subtext. Subtext is text class. That's correct, subtext, and we'll check our menu items here. So we've got tab other, sub-window name text. No, the sub-window name should be subtext. That's our sub-window name just here. So let's try that. We'll push this and we'll reload. Hit the F1 key. Right, table's reloaded. We'll load up an NPC. No errors, which is great. And our log journal is now the tail of J is good. And same with people. That's great. And our other is also good. So text here. Now we might notice that this field, even though the NPC record is locked, this field isn't locked, so we're going to have to set some locking stuff up in there as well. But so far, these are all working. So what we're going to do first is we're going to add something in here for the journal. We need to work out what fields we can add for the journal. And for people, I think we're going to have an allies, and we're going to have a window list that will accept NPC records, and we'll have a second one here, so that was allies, and we'll have another one here, enemies, and another window list here, and we'll set some relative anchoring up so that if this list grows longer, then the content here will flow down the page. So let's get into that stuff next. Alright, so we'll start with the journal one. That's pretty easy. We're going to just put a, what are we going to do? We are just going to put a formatted text. We will do 2 items in here. So we'll do a formatted text field first, and we'll butt it over up on the left, and we'll set the height here so that it is at 25 pixels from the top. We'll make it 415 wide. Height at 150 is fine, And we've got some other controls here, so we're going to call this just journal text. We want to, we can set a field up here, can grow, make that true. That means as the content gets longer than what will fit in 150 pixels, this field will get longer. We're going to set a minimum height at 150, and we're going to set a maximum height of 300 pixels. So if it has to grow longer, then it won't. The text inside will just scroll, and we'll leave that one at that for the moment. We'll set up a window list, and the window list, again, we'll pull it right over. We will set the width. Where have we got width? 200. Width will be 415. The Y position will be approximately 200. The height 150. A frame, we're going to use the same frame as the journal text. We'll lock that one here. So it's using field dark with some offsets. Now I think 888 is actually possibly a little small offset on this particular record. We might have to go 10s. The offset here, this frame offset, is how far from the left, top, right and bottom edges, so 8 pixels from each, that the content that we put in here will be. Now this frame, we can see there's a couple of pixels above the line, to the left of the line. Then we've got the line of a couple of pixels, tiny bit of shading. So having the text but right up there, it might be too close. We might have to increase that padding, but we'll find out. In the meantime, we will go here. We will set the frame to field dark and the offset to the same. We're going to set can grow also to true. We're going to set a minimum height here of 150 and a maximum height of 150. Now we need a label. We need to give this window list a name. This window list is going to be called diary list, and lists need a couple of other things. We need to give it, there's a template called list text. We need to assign that. We also need to tell it where to store this list in the database. So this will be called diary list. I use, my list is called name underscore list. So this is my window list, this object. The data list, where it'll be stored in the database will be diary list with no underscore, and this full stop means to create this node under this character record or under this NPC record. And we're also going to have to add some extra fields in here. We'll come back to those in a second. Max height should have been 300. Okay, they're all good. What we want to do now is we need to accept drop classes. Our drop class is going to be note. And we're not going to have accept drop fields. We're going to allow create yes. So we'll set that to true. Allow delete true. Child windows are true. We don't need that, but we need a class name to display in here. And we're just going to call this note detail. Now that window class doesn't exist. We're going to have to create it. Now, and my column width, we want this to be 2 columns. My frame here is 415 pixels wide. We lose 8 to each edge, so that's 399. We need a little bit of padding in the middle, so we'll call that 9 pixels. That leaves 390. 390 divided by 2 is what, 195. So we'll call this column width 195 for the moment. We might have to change that. And we're going to say fill across as the first option. So first record will go top left, the second record will go top right, and then the next record will go second row left, second row right, third row left, third row right. That's good. All right, what we need is another label. This label will be with diary. I want it to appear above diary, so I'm just going to move it backwards so it gets read in the code first and displayed first. The journal, we're going to change the text to diary, and I'm going to change the name of the label to diary label. Now, this field here, you can lock this, this field here can grow. Its default minimum is 150 pixels tall, but it can grow anywhere up to 300 pixels tall. We can see here maximum height. So as this grows, I don't want it to overlap these fields, or these fields to overlap this for this field to go behind. So we need these fields to move down the page if this one gets longer. So we want to anchor this field to, we want to anchor the diary label to the journal text. Alright, so what we do is we find stack with control and we type it in there, journal text, and I can do the same for this one because this size should always be the same. We can anchor this either to the diary label or to the journal text. We'll just do it to the journal text. Okay, now I'm just going to pop back into the XML briefly. I mentioned note. Note is going to be in core RPG. Control open. Now, I don't think it's a record note. I think we'll find it somewhere else. I think, where is note going to be? Let's use find in files. Control find note quote. Now it could be notes, but we'll try a note, and we're looking for the template equals template with a name equals note. We'll find in files core RPG, find all. Window class, window class. Interesting. I think note is the correct name. But I can't see the template for it. It might be a story, might be some fancy code here to split stories into notes depending on where they're being opened from. Anyway, what we're going to do is, the record is called note, it's not notes, which is what I really needed to confirm out of that. So over here, I don't want to display the whole note in here because otherwise I can only really fit one note or maybe two notes in my diary entry. What I want to do is have a list of my notes. So what I'll do is over here I'm going to create a new window class, and the window class is going to be called note detail. This is just a name I've chosen. I try and use the same ones, but detail, why I use detail here is because back on my journal I have said that the display class for my notes in here is going to be note detail. Now note detail is going to be pretty simple. It can be a maximum of 195 pixels wide because I split this column into two. I split this into two columns, left and right, with roughly 195 pixels. So we'll go back to note detail and make this 195 pixels wide. I'm going to make the height of it approximately 24 pixels. I need a couple of things. I really just need a link. Put the link in the top left, but I want to actually bring it down 2 pixels, and I want to bring it in 2 pixels. Sometimes this padding, we're going to just play with it a little bit, and we're just going to call this link. I have to tell it what the link is going to connect to. Link is we need a couple of fields up here. We want allow drop true. Description field will be name. We'll have this in a second. Name. So what will happen when you the description associated with this link will be name. The name record we'll add in here in a moment. We want it to just load a blank record that's its own record. If it's empty, if it doesn't link to something else. And the window class name here would just be note. That's the existing record there. Now we need a label, or we could use a string field, and that would make it editable. I think we'll just use a label for the moment. Put the label in here, push it right to the top, drop it down 2 pixels. We're going to align it 30 from the left. We're going to underline the text. We don't need that for a label, sorry. What we're going to do is make this wider. We're going to give it a name of name. That will pick up the existing name of that record. So we'll have a link and name, and we're going to lock these 2 fields. So note detail should exist. Now, I think we might have enough info here just to push this record and test it. Alright, let's open our Glassstaff NPC, and we were on the log tab. No errors, which is quite surprising. First thing we'll do is add some text in here, because what we're trying to get here is for the page to go longer. Alright, so we can see that everything is moving down, but there's an upper limit to this. Right, at 300 pixels tall, it will stop growing. Okay, so that it's not going down the page any further, but if I scroll up, you can see there's more content. So what we'll need is a scroll bar for that. Let's remove some of this content for the moment. And our diary should take notes from here. So if we've got some notes in the game, I'm going to create a new note. The innkeeper is suspicious. Alright, we can add some content in here, and if I drag this link over here, that was so close. We've got a link, but our name field didn't appear. So possibly something on my code, or maybe this record here is not named, but we can see from in the top left hand corner from my debug that this control is called name. Innkeeper is suspicious, but the link didn't drag over. Second one has come in. Again, we don't have that record here, so we need to work out why that is. But this is looking okay at the moment. We can also create entries. We'll create a new note here called, let's create it locked, we'll unlock it, call it coding 101, and we'll create one more record, and we'll call this one accounting 101. Alright, what we have to do in our next video, we'll do it now, is try and work out why our names are not displaying. Okay, if we have a look in the top corner, we can see control name is showing here, but graphically we can't see it. So we need to work out why that is. Let's switch back into the Ruleset Wizard. Probably what we need to do is get rid of this as a label. Let's put it as a string field, and we can make it read only. String field. Link name. Alright, we open up the NPC class stuff, go to the log. Alright, we've got accounting, coding, innkeeper. We added the innkeeper one twice. To remove that. Now these should still open up the records. Now, what we want to check as well is our notes here. Innkeeper is suspicious. We can see here that this has actually created a record, a copy of this record as opposed to linking to the original record. Just something to bear in mind. Okay, this record is different. This record is a copy of that record at the point in time it was dragged in. Alright, so we've got a diary entry with a list. We've got a formatted text field here. Formatted text field meaning we can do headings, we can do bold and underline, we can make a speech bubble. We've got speech bubble, there we go. We can even put a speaker in here. We can say glass staff for speaking, so that when we click this into chat, it puts up glass staff's name. We can make this into a table. We can add an extra cell in here. Right, so we can do all of those things in our formatted text field. So for people, we're going to add some window lists in here. We'll do that in the next video. Thanks very much.